That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Fairly alarmed here.
Welcome to MOTN Presents Random Select. This is Masters of the Nerdiverse Podcast Presents Random Select, where we choose 8 films at random and pit them against each other in a bloody kumite to see which of them will reign supreme at the end of this tournament of power. Tournament of horror in this case. Happy Halloween from your favorite ghoul, Mike the G-Virus. And with me on these episodes is Winter Trash Monster the Third.
Good evening.
And Brian the Beast.
Good evening.
Good evening. We all have pencil mustaches now like Vincent Price.
Very nice.
Want to know something creepy is that at Disneyland, the only way you can have a mustache if it was a pencil mustache like Walt Disney.
Yeah.
It was Mike G with a mustache, with a pencil mustache is never a good look.
It looks like you'd be like a candle store owner.
Yeah, man. It's like I'm one of those guys who runs a 365-day Christmas shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or where are the scary town Halloween stores?
What are they called? Dang, someone's gonna punch me because they're the best stores ever because they just take over like empty warehouses and turn them into like Spook USA, dog. So we're in the semifinals now, man.
Semifinals.
So blood was shed. Certain movies didn't make the cut out of our 3 minds, out of this triforce of power. So now from the first round, we had The Omen versus Creepshow. And amongst us 3, Creepshow was the victor. And in the second round, we had Nightbreed versus Silver Bullet, to where Silver Bullet shot the magic firing shot and took out the Midian residents. So tonight, we're actually going to be having Creepshow versus Stephen King's Silver Bullet, guys. Let's pit these 2 horror movies against each other. So with the first round, we went over kind of our experiences.
Well, first, before we do that, the people chose The Omen.
Yep.
58%.
Yep.
And Nightbreed was also the people's choice at a whopping 57%.
Well, I know what the people want, okay?
Well, okay. The people's champs, right? We're kind of going against the grain, aren't we? I think that's kind of cool. I think that's kind of fascinating and cool. I actually like that, we're a little left of center in our choices and the people are reflecting that. So I'm super cool with that. I'm happy that we're not going we're going against the grain, which is, well, hopefully will make these episodes a bit more interesting. So the way I want to start this is I want to kind of think about these 2 movies in kind of a white room in regards to...
With black curtains?
With Nights in White Satin. That's a good song. Listen to it. Brian, when it comes to Creepshow, what's your favorite thing about that film? I'm just curious.
Stephen King, the Moss episode, without a doubt, has always stuck with me. And, I think about it from time to time. And that is my favorite thing about that. I like the story. I was a fan of the comic, and, favorite, Stephen King.
Stephen King. Man, that dude had the worst fate ever, right? Because we don't even know if he legit died.
I really wasn't expecting him to be like, just get covered in moss and end it. I think the finality of it all, where I was like, oh, that's how that happened. Oh God, that'd be
The scariest part about that is that they do the pullback and the whole town is going green. That's like, man, the world's good. This is a world problem. Yes. I thought it was like an apocalypse ending. So super cool. So, Winter, what would you say is your favorite part or favorite thing about Creepshow?
So I I like how it is paying homage to my favorite type of comic books, which are the EC comics, Tales from the Crypt, shocking suspense stories. I talked a little bit about that in the first episode that we did on Creepshow. But the scene that I like the most is probably, I can't remember the actual title of the story, but it's the Barbeau Zone.
The Barbeau Zone, the
Yeah.
crate. Mhm.
Yeah, where he shoots his wife and then the people start clapping.
Yeah.
It's like a dream sequence because I don't think I've ever been a fan of like where the monster is the main point, but it's used as a tool for man's own purposes, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Mhm.
Like so it's kind of like the thing of he's trying to murder his wife through this beast, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff going on where he has to make the journey of, I want to kill my wife, but now I'm not just going to do it myself. I'm going to try to get this beast to do it.
I like where your head's at there
Yeah.
because it's kind of the reason why I like Hellraiser so much.
Right.
Is that the movie's not really about Pinhead and Chatterer and
Right.
Butterball. It's really about the people. It's about the ex-wife who just automatically gets swept right back up into Frank. And it's about that love affair and her willing to do whatever she can about this man against her husband's will, without him knowing actually.
Right.
But the monster is on the periphery of the whole movie. You know what I mean? And just like with the crate, you only see the crate creature twice,
Right.
Mhm.
but you see Adrienne Barbeau be completely horrible to her husband, and her husband fantasizing about her death and him not having really a spine, but he finds himself in murdering his wife, which is something to say about kind of the headspace of that writing. But I think that is actually one of the best scenes and one of the better scares of the movie. Is that damn creature that gave me nightmares. Oh man, I would
Right.
say, yeah.
I mean, a close second would be the ending story with the cockroaches.
Oh, they're creeping up on you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. One thing honestly, Creepshow is one of my top 5 horror movies of all time, just because to me it encapsulates the perfect anthology film. Anthology films are super hard to do because you're taking different writers and different directors and you're mushing them together to make a coherent experience. And each of those stories stand out so hard from each other. They're so polarizing from each other. Not each of the stories is very different. But the part that kind of sticks with me is, I don't remember the name of the segment, but it's the one with Leslie Nielsen and Ted Dancing.
That's probably my second, but go on.
Yeah, it's just because it's so real, and I can just see the pettiness in Leslie Nielsen's character, and it's just so visceral. And the idea of being like, let's say I'm a California guy, being at Venice Beach and seeing the tide slowly come in. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can do about it. You'll live through the night if you can survive the tide. And it's like, I'm asthmatic, man. There's no way I'm making it. I'm dead as disco, dog.
Yeah,
So
man, that's a bad way to go.
it's a horrible way to go. That's kind of what stuck with me, like since I was a kid. It's like, monsters and ghouls, that's fine. But the very real possibility of someone kidnapping you and throwing you under the sand, and there's a chance you could live if you're strong enough, but you may not be strong enough, That just really jacked me up. But Winter, what would you say is your favorite part about Silver Bullet?
Well, that's hard because I wasn't a fan of Silver Bullet.
Yeah, I remember. That's why I'm curious. Like,
Yeah.
what stuck with you, if anything?
I do like. I mean, we talked a little bit about how there's a reverend in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always have like a soft spot of like adding more clergy to stories. It seems to be like a hot button issue that we don't get enough of that nowadays. Of like even in vampire movies, I can't think of a recent one that might have had a priest of some kind, unless it's like a kung fu priest. But
Just
yeah.
as a side note, I was reading, and I don't know. I'm just hopeful. Maybe someone can confirm. Someone online publication had been talking about Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt reuniting for a movie, and I was hoping that they were going to be doing a second interview with a vampire because,
Ooh,
like,
that would
you
be
know,
cool.
even vampire movies, it's like, yeah, they're missing a tad bit of something.
Right. Twilight
Yeah.
ruined it. But yeah, I kind of like that. There wasn't that much that I enjoyed of it.
I hear
I'll
you, man.
piggyback off what he was saying because
Yeah.
the priest, the torture of the priest is actually my favorite part, along with the viciousness of the werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
These things have been watered down and made into popular culture more than they are frightening. Frankly speaking, if I see a werewolf, I mean, I'm not a big dog guy. Please don't tweet me, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
But you know, like that should be a terrifying experience. So between the torture of the priest who's going through this transformation at will, man, that's epic.
That's epic, dude. And just to piggyback off what you were saying, Brian, it's the torture and the almost the sadness of the priest. It kind of goes back to like Lon Chaney's Wolfman, where Lon Chaney was just beaten down by this curse and he didn't want it. And he knows he's destined to live the rest of his days murdering people outside of his own control. And for me, it was the dream sequence of the priest, you know, of the pastor giving a sermon, and the entire audience turns into werewolves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where he can tell he's troubled by this weight of this curse that he's been bestowed upon him. So it almost makes him on some level sympathetic. You know, that, you know, he has no control over this kind of this hunger that he has to appease. And also a shout out to Corey Haim and his awesome Silver Bullet bike. That bike is next level excellent. So with that discussed, our pros for both films, it's time to get to the nitty gritty and start to pit these bad boys against each other. Brian, where are you standing?
Dude, Silver Bullet all day long. All day long. As a Halloween film, yes. As an actual film, again, I don't want to understate what it's like to see good Gary Busey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like seriously, like for probably the most of you listening out there, you're like, Gary who?
I know.
The guy
There
from
was
The
a
Celebrity
time-
Apprentice.
There was a time when Gary Busey was a top line actor, and frankly speaking, I enjoyed seeing him in this movie, and kind of forgot that he was a central figure of it all.
It's good you mentioned that, and it's like good like actors who've kind of lost their way, but from time to time really shine. It's like I like seeing good Nicolas Cage. You know what I mean?
Nicolas Cage, another one where you're like, man.
I think that's why I like Mandy so much, is because he was just good, and all his craziness fed into the role. You know what I mean? Good Nicolas Cage is special, just like good Gary Busey is special. You know what I mean? Like my favorite Gary Busey role is probably Lethal Weapon.
I was gonna say Lethal Weapon, without a doubt.
OG Lethal Weapon, man. Fighting Riggs in the mud, dog. But okay, yeah,
go on. That's a different shit.
That's a whole different random select. So winner, who do you got in this? What dog do you have in this fight?
So I'm hands down Creepshow, everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have more of a relationship with Creepshow. I feel like there's more to it than Silver Bullet, just because not only do you have the angle of it is a shocking suspense, like a little with horror elements attached to it, but it also has the comic book type flow through it, and it's pain. Again, it's like it could be considered like a tribute, like in memoriam type movie by itself. and how it all ties together at the end. Would you say that this solidified what like anthology movies should look like?
To me,
Yeah,
it's the quintessential anthology film, no matter what genre.
Because I can't think of an anthology film that came out before Creepshow.
The only one I usually compare this to is Twilight Zone the movie.
Right, but isn't Creepshow earlier?
Might be. For that, I don't even want to wager to guess, but I'll pick it up from there. Winter kind of double checks those numbers, and I usually equate Creepshow to Twilight Zone the movie just because it's his closest kind of compatriot, you know. But the thing about Twilight Zone the movie is that it retreads older episodes. You know what I mean? And there is no solid through line like Creepshow has. Like, you know, Stephen King's son and Captain Mustache, you know, as the overbearing father who says comic books are crap, you know. But honestly, between these two, I gotta go Creepshow because it's just so much damn fun and it's so iconic and it's such a moment in horror where you had Stephen King, Stephen King, John Carpenter. Was it John Carpenter who was also
Stephen King and George
Romero? Thank you. I'm sorry, got Carpenter on the brain. Just coming together and making this fun anthology that's kid friendly that you can show to like a 10-year-old and blow his mind. You know what I mean? That's just very well thought out and orchestrated. Yeah. And mind you, I love Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet is like one of my favorite werewolf films of all time because, like Brian said, the concept of a werewolf is sheer terror. If you saw a werewolf in real life, there's nothing you could do. You're not outrunning it. You know, you're not beating it. You're not going to beat it in a fight. You're just dead. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can do. And so the idea of being a kid and being disabled and having to go against this werewolf and no one believes you, but your cool uncle, it just also reminds me of another one of my favorite horror films, Fright Night. If you guys ever heard of Fright Night.
Oh yeah, man. Fright Night. Fantastic film.
Fantastic film where you're this teenager and your next door neighbor is a legit vampire, but nobody believes it. You know, and you kind of have to, and he knows that you know. You know what I mean? So you're on this timetable. He's like, tonight, you. It's like, oh no, this thing's going to eat me and no one's going to know. So Silver Bullet also harkens to that, where it's like the local town pastor is a werewolf and it's stupid. It sounds stupid, but it's real, you know, and me and my uncle are going to deal with it. But Creepshow, it harkens to comics, which is a huge part of my life. It harkens to horror, which is a huge part of my life. And this is something I watch 2 or 3 times a year. You know what I mean? So I got to go Creepshow on this one.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was a battle.
That was a battle because honestly, I hate to do it, but it's like nitpicking on a molecular level because they're both such good movies to me. And they both hold special places in my heart. So it's like picking between, it's Solomon, you know, it's King Solomon's choice. You know what I mean? It's Sophie's choice, man. It's rough. But if I had to pick one, it would be the silverest of bullets. And this is why I'm so happy Winter's here because he could be that third person. Because if Winter wasn't here, me and Brian just would have split down the middle. You know what I mean? So having a third person. We would still
be arguing.
Yes. So this makes this process a little bit more streamlined. But as Brian would say, what do you think? Did we get this one right? Did we get this one wrong? Please follow us on Twitter at @mnerdiverse, where you can vote against which is the better movie, Stephen King's Silver Bullet or George Romero, Stephen King's Creepshow. Very interested to see what you think, Nerdiverse, and just tell us your favorite parts of the movies. Comment below, like and subscribe always. Absolutely. So for this episode, I want to thank once again Brian and Winter for being on.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you for listening. If this is your very first time listening, I want to be the first to welcome you to the Nerdiverse Bars. I've, of course, been your host, Mike G. And I'll always ask you to look towards the skies. Look towards the skis.